talk about the top 5 games on the slate this weekend. And I got to start by saying, look, October 12th has been circled on the calendar by you, by every other college football fan that we know since the conference schedules got announced. This is the day for which your fall wedding is going unattended, because I don't know that we love anybody as much as we're going to love this Saturday that features this bevy of amazing games. So youth soccer needs to wrap up about 8 a.m. Pacific time, about noon Eastern Standard Time, all right? We're not doing brunch unless there are 4 TVs with 4 different games on them, all right? It's just not happening, because top to bottom, this is a day of days, particularly a night of nights, and I want to talk about it just to kind of get everybody set, because going into this season, this was looking like the Doctor Strange line, heretofore undreamt of, right? And then we got last week where we saw 4 of the top 11 go down to unranked opponents, and Vanderbilt get their first win against a number 1 ranked team ever. Probably not going to see something like that this year. Probably again this year. Probably not going to see something like that for quite some time. 2024 feels a lot like 2007. The volatility is there. We'll see what it means in the first year of the 12-team college football playoff. But these games are certainly going to be those that I think influence who makes the 12-team college football playoff. So I think of this more like Separation Saturday, which is probably going to be a theme as we get closer and closer to who gets to play for conference championships, and then who's going to get in as one of those 12 best teams. Probably going to look at this weekend and these games to help make that assessment. So number 5, I got number 9, Ole Miss at number 13, LSU. This features 2 of the most productive quarterbacks in the SEC in Jackson Dart and Garrett Nussmeier. Jackson Dart leads the Alliance, the Rebel Alliance, in passing yards, right? He's first in passing TDs, and he's second in passing yards. Stick that one in your face, Empire. And then we got Garrett Nussmeier, who's actually the inverse. He ranks first in passing TDs and second in passing yards. The difference here, though, is LSU lost to a USC team that might not be as good as we thought they were. And Ole Miss lost to a Kentucky team that might be better than we thought they were. But you also got weapons if you are Jackson Dart. You got Henry Parrish Jr., who's averaging about 106.6 yards from scrimmage per game. He has gone for 100 yards and 5 TDs in each of the last 5 games. They've been stomping out people until such time as they get into SEC play, take that loss to Kentucky. And then the defense did what it's supposed to do for the first time in the Pete Golden era against South Carolina, holding them to just 3 points. Trey Harris, though, is a monster. He leads the entire country in receiving yards with 147.9 per game. Good luck keeping a lid on Trey Harris, LSU defense that's been giving up a lot of points to people you probably shouldn't be giving up points to. And then you have what I think is going to be a soul-searching game for some Bayou Bengals fans, because while we can stomach, and I'm speaking as an Oklahoma fan, we can stomach not having a great offense. We cannot stomach having a piss-poor defense. Getting run on and out-toughed and demolished like that, that's just not going to work for any college football fan. So if you are LSU, try to stop Henry Parrish Jr. and make Jackson Dart beat you deep. On the other hand, Cade Durham might actually be a monster, guys. If they could run the ball, if LSU can run the ball, I could just as easily see them winning this game. I'm excited about it. It's a night game. It's at Tiger Stadium. Oh my gosh. It's going to get loud. It's going to get crazy. It's going to go down. Then, 4th best game, I think, going 5-1 here. Number 4 on the list is Penn State at USC. Number 4, Penn State feels like a soft number 4, kind of like Tennessee last week before they lost to Arkansas. But this is also an interesting space for USC, because USC has been bad. They have not looked good. Their only win is against Wisconsin, and it's at the Coliseum. They need to come from behind in the second half to go get that win, but they got embarrassed by Minnesota, giving up 193 yards on the ground, getting dragged like Hector around the walls of Troy, my guy. Darius Taylor went for 144 on the ground. They got a better rush attack at Penn State, all right? Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Nick Singleton comes back, cancel Christmas. He has had 100 yards from scrimmage and a TD in every game that he has played so far this season. And they're a really great running team when he's on the field. They rushed for just 85 yards against UCLA last week. Make Drew Aller beat you. I don't think he can, but, it's still got Tyler Warren, who's scoring TDs and running out of the Wildcat over there. The difference for Penn State here, though, is this is going to be their first away game since August 31st in Morgantown. Okay? They've had the friendly confines of Beaver Stadium up until now. Now go into the Coliseum and go get a win against a team that's got a winning record, if not a great football team in USC. USC, on the other hand, they've been a fortress at home this year. They are 3-0. All three of their wins coming at the Coliseum, and they get a team that's traveling 2 time zones. This 2 time zone thing, we're going to talk about it because teams that are traveling 2+ time zones in the Big Ten have lost. Everybody but Indiana has lost, okay? Indiana also got to do that game against UCLA, who ain't very good. And after they played a Friday game against Western Illinois, I believe it was, they got to get on the bus, on the train, take the automobiles, take the planes all the way out to LA and go get that W. Matter of fact, Kurt Signetti had a great line. There. We're just going to an old stadium and kick somebody's ass. That's what happened. So Penn State is going to have to overcome that, and it's going to look real bad for USC if they can't get this W. It's also not going to look good for Penn State because we don't really trust Penn State. We don't trust Penn State because they didn't make the college football playoff when it was 4 teams. And they haven't really been a factor in who's going to win the Big Ten championship because they can't get past Ohio State and Michigan. Now, you don't have to get past Ohio State and Michigan. Just get past one. More than that, you can make the playoff because we are literally tripling the field. You expect them to beat this USC team and keep it moving as they try to, once again, throw their hat in the ring as one of the best teams in all of college football. I am excited about the third best game on the schedule for me, number 18 Kansas State at Colorado. Colorado's looking to go 5-1 for the first time since 2018. Topple a top 25 opponent, maybe move into the top 25 themselves with a win against Kansas State at Folsom. However, Colorado is just 1-5 against top 25 teams in the Deion Sanders era. That's going to have to change. Shedeur Sanders has been dealing, right? He's averaging 331 yards passing per game, 15 TDs, 70% of his passes are completed, but he's still getting hit too much. He's getting hit a lot. He's getting hit a lot. He has the most sacks in the Big 12, 17. 17 sacks through 5 games. Do the math on that, right? We're looking at the man getting sacked 40 times this year. Does he hold up for this? The last time he got sacked 50 times, broke his back, couldn't finish the season. However, on the other side of that, he is throwing the ball to Travis Hunter. And Travis Hunter leads the Big 12 in receptions with 46. He averages 112 receiving yards per game. He has 6 TDs. He has not allowed a TD as a cornerback, and he's got 2 picks. He's the only player in the last 30 years of FBS to have 10 passing TD or receiving TDs and 5 interceptions. And that's just the FBS numbers. That's not what he did at Jackson State, which would again explode the numbers. He's also doing this while averaging 132 snaps per game. Hand that man the Heisman Trophy. Like, all respect to Ashton Jeanty and what he's doing. I've kind of outlined why he's not going to win it, and that's not really about what I think. It's about what the Heisman voters have historically done and what they're probably going to do once again. What Travis Hunter is doing, we've never seen before. Like, the way that people talk about Shohei Ohtani in Major League Baseball is the way that we talk about Travis Hunter. We've just never seen it. He's just that good. At least in baseball, ain't nobody even arguing about who the MLB MVP is over there. Ain't nobody doing that, right? Ain't nobody looking at the National League going, I don't know, maybe it's Fernando Tatis. I don't know, maybe Francisco Lindor deserves it. No, that man damn near went. He did become the first person to go 50-50. He could have gone 60-60. That man stole 59 bases in 1 year of baseball. That man has not been picked off or thrown out in his last 36 base stealing attempts. And he can't pitch. Like, that's what I want Travis Hunter to do. I want him to throw a passing touchdown this year. Throw one. So he could be the dude that ran one, that threw one, that caught one. And you know what? Pick one off and run it back to the house. Just leave no doubt on this. On the other side of that, you got Kansas State, who feels like a Big 12 title contender even now. The last time that they took a loss was on the road, and they are on the road. They lost 38-9 to a BYU team we didn't expect to be good, who's all of a sudden 5-0. But the last time that they did play, they played against Oklahoma State, and they beat Oklahoma State like a drum, right? We saw Avery Johnson have 319 total yards, 5 total TDs. Saw DJ Giddens rush for 187 on that team. just a wild number, right? Dylan Edwards gets to play against the team that he transferred away from and Colorado. Ought to be a lot of fun there. We'll see, because a win for either one of these programs put them very much into the hunt for the Big 12 title, with Iowa State, with BYU, with Texas Tech up there at the top. Also, we got a pretty damn good sneaky good BYU Arizona game that's not making this list, but I think it could factor given what Arizona's been able to show and what BYU still has to show to us. I watched that game against Southern Methodist, and it's still in my brain, right? I saw how anemic that offense looked against Southern Methodist, and Southern Methodist not bad, but they're certainly not the team that I think is great over there. And you know what? They can still make the ACC championship game. So maybe we'll talk a little bit more about BYU. They get this win against Arizona. Number 2 on the list for me. Number 1, Texas versus Oklahoma. It is the 120th edition of the Red River rivalry. It is yet another way for us to talk about the Red River shootout in a way that, well, seems like we continue to find new ways to talk about this. Believe it or not, Oklahoma's won 17 of the last 25 games between the two, and Texas still leads the series. I mean, the 60s for Texas were ridiculous. They were just that bad for Oklahoma as well. But like that, those 60s Texas teams, that's where you should start thinking about Darrell K. Royal. I'll also add, they didn't play against Jackson State. They didn't play against FAMU. They didn't play against Grambling. They didn't play against Prairie View A&M. They didn't play against Tennessee State. All HBCU programs that I think would have kicked Texas's ass up one side and down the other. It would not have been close. I swear for the Lord. If I could have seen Walter Payton or Eldridge Dickey go at Texas, sign me the hell up. That is what woo-wee. Do you know that John Merritt would have ran circles around Darrell Royal? You understand what I'm saying? That Jake Gaither would have said, I got Bullet Bob Hayes and you do not? All right, like I can be here for a while, but I get incensed when we start talking about Texas and how good they were in the 60s, because I got to acknowledge it, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't play nobody. You ain't play nobody. If you come down to the SWAC in the 1960s, the SWAC as it is now, come down to the SWAC, right? You'd have come down to the SWAC as it's composed right now with FAMU in the SWAC right now, but in the 60s, man, Texas wouldn't know if they coming or going, dog. Get that ass beat. Get that ass beat. As it is, Oklahoma might get that ass beat. It ain't looking good for the Sooners in this one, dog. There is no Deion Burks. There is no Nick Anderson. Don't really have a rushing attack to speak of. It's a patchwork offensive line. And the defense, which has been bordering on great, all of a sudden looks not just good, but ugh. Do you realize that in the Hugh Freeze era, only 2 programs have allowed 300 passing yards from Auburn? None last year, 2023. Not a single one. This year, Alabama A&M and Oklahoma. Those are the only programs to allow 300 yards passing to Auburn in the Hugh Freeze era. And now Texas gets Quinn Ewers back, and he gets to throw the ball to guys like Isaiah Bond. Michael Hawkins has been doing a pretty good job of holding on to the football, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was 10 of 15 with 230 total yards in the win against Auburn. Just, oof. You know, Oklahoma is allowing just 16 points per game, getting 3.5 sacks per game. Doesn't much matter that Oklahoma's allowing 16 points per game when Texas is not giving up more than 14. Texas also averaging 45 points per game. Yeah, all right. Hate is running deep, and I know that y'all want to keep saying throw the statistics out the window when this game is played, but damn it, that's where I live. Like I use statistics to build fact, to build argument. I don't come out here hoping. I want to come out here wishing. And this ain't no hope scenario. This ain't no wish scenario for your man. All right, I talked about this a little bit. This is a hope scenario for Oklahoma. It's a wish scenario for Texas. Yeah, yes. But even when Texas is elite, the river runs red, and it will run red. Either, oh man, there's a blood metaphor in there that I just don't want to make. Number 1 on the list for me, on the list for you, is Ohio State at Oregon. That is number 2 versus number 3. It ought to be quite a lot of fun. From the moment that Oregon joined the Big Ten, we had circled this game. We were robbed of this game in 2020. course, they played that game in Columbus in 2021, and Oregon won with Mario Cristobal as the head coach. Add to this that Autzen has been something like Alcatraz. You check in, you do not check out when you go up there, dog. They won 34 of their last 35. They lost one game, 2022, to Washington. You saw what Washington became in 2023. National championship runner-up. So you got that. And then Ohio State has been kind of on a tear unlike we've seen before, like quite literally. They've beaten all 5 opponents to open the season by 28 points or more. That's the first time in Buckeye history that has ever happened. That's even with what is a fine to decent quarterback in Will Howard. He's just not exceptional. And that feels about right. Because I don't necessarily want exceptional at quarterback right now for Ohio State. I want somebody who can exceptionally hand this ball to Quinshon Judkins. I want somebody who can exceptionally hand this ball to Travion Henderson. I want somebody who can exceptionally throw this bubble screen to Jeremiah Smith, can throw this slant to Emeka Ibuka, can take the top off. I got one-on-one with the true freshman phenomenon and Jeremiah Smith. I'm going to throw it up there. I'm going to see what happens. You know what I mean? That's what I want. On the other side of that, you have the best scoring defense in all of football. Ohio State's averaging, allowing just 6.8 points per game. They are coming to play on that side of the ball, and they're taking the ball away. They're going to face what I think is the most efficient and merciless quarterback that they're going to see all year in Dylan Gabriel, who's completing 77.8% of his passes. That's number one across the country. He is 304 total yards per game. He's 14 TDs, 3 INTs, had his first multiple INT game since 2022 against Michigan State. I don't think that's going to happen against Ohio State, but it could. It could. They've also learned to run the football, right? Jordan James had 166 rush yards on 24 carries against Michigan State. Michigan State is not Ohio State, but you get my point there. This game, I think, again, is the one that is going to decide who's the new number one on Sunday. I don't know that Texas is going to beat Oklahoma by enough to retain it. If they beat Oklahoma 51-6, 45-8, something like that, and it's the number 18 team in the country, you're going to respect that. You just are. You're going to keep them at number one. But I don't know that Oregon or Ohio State is going to fall that far with a loss, especially if it's close, right? But if Ohio State goes to Oregon and does what many cannot do and gets a win, you got to find a way to respect that. Is that staying at 2? Is that moving to 1? I think it's moving to 1, but we'll see, right? We'll see. We'll see what Texas has to say about this. As we get into the part of the schedule where I get to tell you Texas is the last undefeated team in the SEC, and Ohio State and Oregon are 2 of the last 3, right? So by the time we get done with this, 3 of the last 4. By the time we get done with this, we could have Ohio State, Oregon, undefeated, one of those, right? Penn State, probably, we think, and then Indiana's on a bye. That's what we're talking about. I'm excited to see what this weekend sets up for the following weekend, but I am going to enjoy these games, and I hope you do too.